Welcome to part two. We're joined by Ryan from out Lancashire Way. How are you doing, Ryan? When you click on, uh, I hope everybody's enjoyed part one. We've got Richard coming on next. So there you go, Ryan. Uh, I want to talk about this Jake Paul character who's fighting Chavez next month.
Yeah,
What do you make of all that?
gimmick type thing in it, gimmick boxing.
Well, they're talking Chavez. And him earning millions, and then they're talking Tank Davis next for Jake Paul. What's all that about?
Jesus. I think Tank Davis is about 5'4", isn't he? 5'3". I'm
Well,
sure Jake Paul's
does
about
Jake
six
Paul
two.
can he just pick anybody he wants to fight, and the older run into him? That could be a problem in this sport down the line.
Of course it will, mate. Of course it will. I mean, I think the last time Chavez fought was against an MMA guy called Uriah Hall. That was last year, and I'm pretty confident he won that. But he's not won a meaningful fight since probably Marco Reyes or Brian Vera or Andy Lee or something along those lines, if I'm honest, mate. And they're like 10 years ago.
Yeah, so how long ago was that when he fought Andy Lee? That must be over
That's
10 years,
20, I think that was 2012, that,
something like that, is it? Yeah,
which was a great, to be honest with you, mate, that was, I mean, Andy Lee was brilliant at the time as well, like, and, Chavez was an absolute machine, but that's 13 years ago. Like, we never recovered from getting flogged by Fonfara at like heavyweight. But yeah, bit
yeah,
strange, really, mate. But what can you do? This is the sport of boxing, isn't it? Now, it's not like football. Jake Paul couldn't suddenly turn around and say, "I'm going to become a professional footballer or a professional basketball player or professional golfer." But boxing, it's different. Anyone can get an opportunity to get a pro license and make a few quid. So it's just the variables you deal with, essentially.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Uh, would you see Mike Tyson having another fight?
No. Why would you?
Well, I don't know. I think he's a brass me. I think he'd vote for money.
Well, of course, mate. He's that kind of a guy, is But I don't want to see SOs in the ring anyway, but I don't want to see 57, 58-year-old Bacons in the ring. The guys, what winds me up, Porky? I've never asked you like where you rank him or when you hear these like people on YouTube say he's the best ever and all, and I think, well, he wasn't. It wasn't. There was a guy called Evander Holyfield that battered him twice. In his so-called pomp. Like, I just don't get the narrative towards Tyson at all, mate.
Yeah, it's a strange one, that, isn't it? What do you think's happened to this Saudi agreement? No, not agreement, relationship that they've all had. Turkey, Eddie Hills, Spencer Brown, Bricktop, and all the rest of them. Where do you think it's heading now? Dana's involved.
I watched. It was pretty interesting actually. Called MMA Guru. Have you ever heard of him?
Who's an MMA guru?
So there's a channel on YouTube called MMA Guru. He's essentially like you're the equivalent for MMA that you are in boxing. He
What
just
about
called
Elani?
nah, not that Jewish guy. He's called MMA Guru, yeah, but he's just a straight shooter in MMA, and he calls everything exactly how it is. But in MMA, they're a little bit more partial to facts. And he's saying that apparently Dana White has been removed as the lead promoter for the Canelo and Crawford fight. I found that out this morning. Um, yeah, have a look at him. Why does Turkey Al Sheikh need Eddie Hearn? Why does he need Frank Warren? Why does he need Dana White? Why does he need any of these guys? They've got more money than anyone. I'm not a fan of the Saudis, but
Yeah.
um, Why they don't need it? All they'll do is offer more money to it, more money than Eddie Hearn can, more money than anyone else can, and they can build their own stable. It's not hard, is it? It's not difficult. Eddie Hearn did it when he first came on board. All he had was Audley Harrison. And when Fraudley got bashed up, they had the prize fighter competitions, and then he got a load of money off Sky. Same with Boxer. If Turkey Al Sheikh with is it TKO? I think it's called.
Yeah.
If they got a deal now with the Zone, Sky Sports, TNT, or wherever, well, they'd have a massive pot of money that they already have from the Saudi government, in addition to the backing of said networks, and they could just approach any fighter and just say, like, listen,
Yeah.
we can pay you this, but there's £1 million under the table as well. Well, who are you going to be with? Are you going to stick with Eddie Hearn? No. Are you going to stay with Frank? No, you're not. Doesn't need any of them. I think he's just a player. I think he's just seeing what he can get out of him and trying to learn his lessons. He's obviously a very intelligent man. You know,
Yeah.
that's my opinion on it, mate. I mean, what are your thoughts on where do you why do you think he's danced around the houses with them all?
Who did?
What that Turkey Al Sheikh? Why do
Well,
you
I
think
think
he's
I think you needed to see the mechanisms of how boxing works, see who the
yeah,
players are, see what the moves are, how the ranking system is, how the media are. They were all on like a probation period for about 18 months. They were all being
agreed?
watched. So they were all going out there practically sucking him off. YouTubers, media guys, ex-boxers going out there as guests, getting 50 and 60, 70,000 pounds to go out there. Your Frank Brunos, your Calzaghes and all them, they all had the noses in the trough, right? Eddie Hills, Bricktop, Spencer Brown, Furies, everybody, anybody or anybody were out there noshing Turkey off, right?
Yeah.
And he's weighed them all up. And there'll have been some moves behind the scenes with money and stuff, and fighters getting shortchanged. We've already heard that behind the scenes, but he'll have weighed them all up and thought, do you know what? These lot are not for me. I'm going to itch me wagging it with Dana White, who's never put one on a show on in his life. Do you know what I mean in boxing?
Mm. Yeah, again, that's just sort of same sort of sentiments as what I've just shared. He's just sort of seeing what they're all about. He doesn't need them. Doesn't need them at all. Doesn't need them
No.
whatsoever. You've shown money to anyone. I've got a good job now. I get looked after. But if someone said to me, like, look, right, there's another, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 grand on top of your base, I'd have to have a word with my boss, wouldn't I? And say, like, look, mate, I've got this. Same in boxing, same in any
Yeah,
realm of work in life. Like, wherever you get more money, it has to, you're right, okay, no problem, I'm there. I'll be with you on Monday. Simple as that. That's what I think. But I think it's going to take away a lot. I mean, British boxing is in fairly bad standards at the moment, but it will only lessen our product here in the UK because if Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn are running things here with Adrian Mole sort of underneath, if you will, in addition to is it Izzy
yeah,
GBM, like those guys, the more relevant and the more prevalent those guys are, you'd have to think that the better British boxing would be. I mean, and again, I know it's bad with two active world champions at the moment, but it will improve, hopefully. But it won't if Turkey Al Sheikh is running things and has the lion's share of all the world champions, etc. Because it's just, yeah, I just think it'll lessen our product here in the UK, in my opinion.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll focus on the American market. History states that that's where the money is. So
yeah,
why would he focus his attentions on any UK fighters?
yeah. Where do you see Eddie going now? Because we just had his big ticket seller being put on button moon. Ben got comfortably beat. He's never won a belt, by the way.
Mm.
Uh, and he's stuck with Joshua. Uh, who's basically on the slide, scared of his own shadow, and he's not even relevant unless he's fighting Fury now, is he, Joshua? And he's got Dave Allen, who out of the six levels, he's not won a belt either. So where's Eddie going? Is he Mr. Gimmick now? Is he going to be have a role like Calla? Do you think?
I think Eddie Hearn needs to have a look at who's coming on board with Matchroom at the moment. Listen, mate, I sell aircrafts and aircraft parts for a living, so I'm nobody to tell a very successful businessman how to run his business. But if I was Eddie Hearn, I'd be having a look and seeing who Boxer have got, and I'd be trying to pick their pockets. It's an easy pocket to pick. I mean, if you had an option between Eddie Hearn promoting you and Ben Shalom, you with Eddie Hearn all day long and twice on a Sunday. I'd be having a look at what other people have got and trying to pick their pockets. You know, whether it's Whitaker. I'm trying to think of any. I don't think you can take anyone from Frank Warren. Frank Warren's standing on his neck, in my opinion, at the moment. But
Who's neck?
on Eddie's, I mean, Frank's miles above him in terms of
Oh,
stable.
listen, look what Bricktop's putting on, shows he's putting on.
Exactly.
Look, and look what he's putting on hills that absolutely shockers.
I'll go back to, though, Dave Allen, I don't know why he wouldn't trust. Well, there's obviously reasons why someone couldn't trust anyone. But if I was him, I'd be going across to Frank Warren. Frank Warren will not throw him under the bus. He won't lob him into an horrible fight where he's going to get bashed up like an Ortiz or a Dylan White, etc. He will put him into good fights that are winnable for Dave Allen. And maybe I've said this before on the show. I do rate Dave. I do think Dave has skills. You've said it as well, but he just hasn't got any discipline. Now, but if he has a good, 2 or 3 wins after this at a decent-ish level, maybe the confidence gets it, and you can get a little bit more out of him if he gets a bit more confident, gets in better shape. He needs to be going across to Frank Warren, in my opinion. But yeah, go back to Eddie, mate. Eddie Hearn needs to be having a look at what British fighters are out there under other promotional banners, where their contracts might be coming to an end, and seeing if he can pluck, because he doesn't have anything. My opinion, mate, for what that's worth.
Yeah.
If you're Eddie Hearn now, you've got the vast of riches that he has. What would be your strategy to rebuild your stable?
Right. Well, he's got to go sign some Team GB guys, Annie, but they're not nailed on, are they, at the moment? He's got to get new signings in UK. They're not there. The signings are not there at the EIS because they're not ready. And the ones that are turning pro are garbage anyway. Who's Eddie took to a world title who wasn't from Team GB and he had him from debut? There isn't anybody. There's nobody. Right? Nobody whatsoever. He had Callum Smith from Team GB. He didn't even take him to a world title. It was Calla that got him in end, wasn't it?
No, and then you've got to have a look at the other people
Luke
who
Campbell
he's
had a
had.
gold medal. He never
Yeah,
won above a Commonwealth belt. Luke
Fowler,
Campbell.
Fowler as well. There's more,
Fowler,
but
Olympian, wasn't he? He never won out, did he?
nothing, mate, nothing. And he could have done as well, in my opinion, if he was. I think if he was with Frank Warren, he'd have been matched better and engineered
He
better.
put him in with Fitzy and ruined Fowler.
Yeah, and then stuck him into Liam Smith, which was just outrageous. But it's one of them things. I don't really see anyone that's come out of the GB squad who were up to much. I mean, I watched that Delicious Ori the other day, and he looked really bad. Pat Brown, obviously, I'm biased. I thought he looked brilliant. I know he's with Eddie. They are pumping a load of money into him, and he's very good in my opinion. But
Oh, Pat Brown.
yeah, I think
Well, they all
Brown's
said
good.
that about Ben Davidson, didn't they, really?
Ben Davidson,
Ben Whitaker, they said he was good, didn't they?
yeah, yeah, they did. But Whitaker's still. I mean, it's a bit of an early stoppage against Cameron, but we'll see where he goes. We'll
Yeah.
see where he goes after this because he'll win it. He could win a British title, which is
Yeah.
on the balance of players we've just discussed, Luke Campbell didn't even win one of them. Anthony Fowler didn't win one of them. So if Ben Whittaker does win one of them, that's progress. Could he win a European title at the time? Maybe. Who knows? We don't know yet. His journey's not gone, shall we say? But there's not really anyone around that I'm saying Eddie Hearn could go to and could sign, or that they would go to him.
Yeah.
Just struggle to find what his next step is and what his next direction would be
Yeah.
to build his stable. I mean, who Boxer got in their stable?
Well, the Vito Riley, Fraser Clark, Lauren Price, Ben Whittaker. People like that, aren't they, Boxer?
So you take Whittaker, in my opinion, and I think Adam Azim as well. Adam Azim would be good.
He's
And
got to fight. He's got to fight Dalton Smith him. I don't want to hear trainers like Shane McGuigan going out doing Sunday sermons and Monday mass podcasts and YouTube interviews, going on about building the fight up and all that. Look what they've done with Fury Joshua. Built it up that much, they've burnt the dinner. Too many cooks spoil the broth.
I agree, mate. I completely agree. Yeah, I'd be having a look at the Ben Whittakers of the world. If I was Eddie Hearn, that would be a good signing for them at the moment, because it'd be someone to put some. Yeah, I mean, for what he lacks in, he doesn't really back up the way he behaves and the things that come out of his mouth, but he's marketable, and that's one thing that Eddie Hearn is light years ahead of anyone else with. He's the first one who sort of understood marketing and social media content that befits someone like Ben Whittaker. Again, Adam Azim would be someone who, in my opinion, Eddie Hearn has decent guys at 140, doesn't he? He has Cambosis and Hitchens who are fighting in the next few weeks. He has Catterall, who's, I know he's just gone up to 147, but could still probably do 140. Dalton Smith, of course. I think he has the big Puerto Rican guy as well. He's a big, massive puncher as well. Devin, he's always wrapped around Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson is only £5 below. So if he got someone like Adam Azim, it'd be a good proposition if you were Azim's people. Why should we go with Eddie Hearn? We're with Boxer now. Well, Boxer doesn't really have anyone in and around your weight category. We've got all of this.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you were Ben Whittaker, from Ben Whittaker's people's standpoint, what do you have at light heavyweight? You kind of got rid of Buatsi and didn't want to know. Yeah, but we have a great relationship with Queensbury. They've got X, Y, and Z. Willie Hutchinson, etc., etc. Callum Smith is still with Matchroom as well. We've got these people. We could put you into this fight, that fight, blah blah blah. And that again, they're the only things that I think Eddie Hearn can do straight off the bat if I was him, anyway.
Okay, Lawrence Okoli, 21-1, cruiserweight world champion, bridgerweight world champion. Boxer ranked number 7 at heavyweight. He's ranked number 1 at WBC, and he is the mandatory for the champion. And he's the WBC silver champion as well. So Lawrence has come from nowhere after his Billum Smith loss in May 23. It's now May 25. Look how he's turned it around since he went to Joe G.
But he's had one fight with someone who he blasted out in a round.
2. Oh, you mean 1 at heavyweight?
1 at heavyweight, yeah.
Hussein Mohammed, 18-1. He poleaxed him in round 1.
Yeah, so how's that been engineered? How has it been engineered that he's in that kind of a position? I mean, I actually don't mind Lawrence Okoli as well. I like his character.
How's the guy ranked 156, you mean? Fighting a guy ranked 7 for that sort of belt?
And then, how's he got his ranking? How's he got that from beating a Hussein Mohammed who's again ranked well outside the top 150 in the heavyweight division. Why would a WBC silver heavyweight title be on the line for someone who'd never fought at heavyweight and a guy who's ranked 186, as you so rightly
Well,
said?
Rhino's ranked 80 now, so I mean, he could have fought a Coley, couldn't he, for that belt?
That'd be very very bad for Dave Allen. In fact, that'd be quite interesting. In fairness, there'd be some element of intrigue there. It could either be a mad fight because I don't think a Coley could get away with any kind of mauling on the inside. I think Dave Allen would be too strong, or they could both just sort of accept it and just hug each other all night. I don't know. That'd be an interesting fight. But yeah, I like Lawrence Coley enough. As I've explained in the past, I'm a massive fan of Joel Gallagher, but how Lawrence Coley is ranked where he's ranked and is contesting a WBC silver heavyweight title is testament to the sport in general, and the manipulation of rankings. He's not boxed anyone at heavyweight. Who's he fought? He's not beat anyone at heavyweight.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
not to be
What?
too damning there, but it's factual. You know, who's he beat at heavyweight?
Yeah. What did you think to Tommy Fumbles and his brother Roman Fury fighting out there in that other country where they were fighting?
I didn't see Roman. I seen Tommy fight. I switched off after probably a round and a half. Again, they're just gimmick kind of things, aren't they? And but the one thing that you can get John Fury for what he does and what he says that's more often than not wrong. He brings eyeballs and he provides a storyline that nobody else does in the sport, and it is boring. You know, there are no sort of domestic rivalries. There are no good cards that we've got to look forward to. So the tales of John Fury do provide some histrionics to it. You know, they do provide something different that nobody else does, which is
Yeah.
really sad, by the way, mate. Really, really sad.
Yeah.
Who's Hughie fighting next? Has there been any reports about that, by the way?
Hughie's fighting in Ireland next month, apparently, so I'm hearing, and then he's having a biggie in September. But well, as far as I'm concerned, until we see it happen, it's just pie in the sky, isn't it, really?
Mm. No names been reported.
You know what? You've just seen him in with Dan Garber, aren't you? A bloke for a Brockman. What's all that about?
Yeah, I seen that, mate. Yeah,
Sorry, Hughie's supposed to have had a bracken hand, his dad said.
yeah.
So why put him in fight? And Dan Garber is garbage, man, as far as I'm concerned. For somebody like you, a world championship gold junior.
Yeah, yeah. And he's capable as well. Hugh Fury. He's just, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see the big fighters in September. See if it happens.
Well,
See
Hughie
if
at
it
the moment is
happens.
ranked 32 in the world, right? Now, why is Hughie? But yet he's fighting guys ranked 606, like Dan Garber. So why can't Hughie step up and fight guys that are ranked above him in the world rankings? So if Hughie's ranked 32 on BoxRec, to get progression, he needs to be fighting guys ranked 25 and 20. You don't need to be going in with guys ranked 606 who are old sparring partners, because how is that moving forward? It's moving backwards, isn't it?
Very much so. And again, you have to go back to other professional sports. You know, you wouldn't get um, Rory McIlroy turning up to go and tee off with someone who's playing at, you know, a very, very bog standard professional
Well,
level.
Hughie's
It
just
just
gone from
wouldn't happen.
fighting. He's gone from fighting Christopher Thorne, ranked 179, to Dan Garber 606. So what's the point with that?
There's no point.
There's no
But
point,
that's
is
what
there?
the sport dictates, though, isn't it? And
Hey.
that's why I think that this turkey went across to Dana White, because Dana White doesn't have anything like that in his sport.
But look at the guy before him, Patrick Cote, who Hughie fought, ranked 397. Then we've got that Dovichenko or whatever. He's ranked 360. You know, what are they? What is this? What is this? Do I need to go on anymore? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. 7 wins on trot since Povetkin 6 years ago. Right, so
Mm.
7 fights in 6 years, right? And none of them are worth a carrot. And now they're talking another journeyman next month in Ireland, then a biggie in September. So that'll be 8 gimmies on the trot. Well, does Hughie just want to be known as a boxer? Or does he want to have progression because the team around him are not moving him forward? They're just putting him out there in fights with guys he wouldn't normally have as sparring partners and getting wins so it just looks good on paper.
Who
But
do you think is his
wins.
best win?
Who's Hughie's best win? Sam Sexton, you'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I said that
Title.
before. Yeah, I've said that before on the channel. So,
Rudenko, when he were a young man, he fought Rudenko, but he'd already been beat. So you'd have to say Sam Sexton. Andre Rudenko, 10.5 years ago, were 24 and 1, and he ended up with 7 losses in end. Do you know?
so does Sam Sexton constitute being sort of linked in world title fights, and you know having any kind of suggestion that you could attain world honours by beating
Well,
Sam
you fought
Sexton?
Sexton over 7 years ago.
Exactly. Well, there's that. But Sam Sexton was never that guy. Sam Sexton was a guy who held the British title until someone half decent spanked him.
Yeah, that's
You'll
it.
be that David Price.
He retired after you. He flogged him.
Exactly.
You in
So
accident
again,
round 5 over there, mate.
I like Hughie and I do rate what he can do, but you have to have a look. He's what is he 31 now, and
31 in a few weeks.
his CV reads his best wins. Samuel Peter's Nigerian, so the likelihood is in 2019 he was probably closer to 50 than he was 40. With no disrespect applied to all Nigerians there, but he was probably a lot older than suggested. Prior to that, you've got Sam Sexton, who we've just explained.
Wasted talent, mate, Hughie, in my opinion. And
Yeah,
them
exactly.
around
That's what
him.
I'm leaning on. Yeah,
Listen, Ryan, if it were any fucker else, we'd all be fucking slating them, wouldn't we?
exactly, mate.
Oh, why is it nobody dares stand up? Because they're scared of all them around them. It's a bit like with Fisher team around them. Everyone say up to Mark Tibbs, do they? Right. Anybody who's got a bit of an aura around them, nobody says shit all on here except me. So there you go.
I agree.
Well, we have to
Completely
tell it
agree.
straight, don't we? What mark would you give Hughie's for his career so far and them that have been controlling it out of 10?
You've got to be looking at what in terms of what he's capable of doing. You've got to
Right,
say
what
two.
he's capable of more than a British title, right? Ability
Exactly.
wise, yeah. He's
So
never
they've
been
they've
down
ranked
one,
at a two.
eh?
They rank at a 2 out of 10.
Yeah,
He's 31.
yeah, exactly. I'm just looking through Hughie's CV here, right? Let's have a look here. Christian Aimer, 4 years ago, he'd had 7 defeats. Vac, 5 years ago, he'd had 6 defeats. Samuel Peter, 6 years ago, he'd had 7 defeats. And then it's Sexton and had 3 defeats. That was 7 years ago, just over 7 years ago. And that's it. That is it. What we're looking at then, Larry Alabama, George Arios, and Dorian Darch. I mean, is that it? Is that what we're
Mm.
looking at? Does Huey want to be a boxer and take it serious, or is he just there hoping for a payday because he's a fucking fury? Is that where we're at?
That's what I think. That's where I
Hanging
think we
around,
are at.
picking up bum wins over bums to get a payday. That's what it looks like to me. So there you go.
No,
But
I agree,
nobody's going to
mate.
put. Our boxing now going to put it on Peter in their next interview about what would they give Pete. What would Peter's ranking be for Hughie's full career? They're not going to ask him that, are they?
No, absolutely not, mate.
So, okie dokie. Well, listen, I'm going to get off. But listen, you take care.
Yeah, you too,
Thanks,
my
thanks
mate.
for coming on, Ryan, and we'll speak again later this week.
Top man. God bless Porky. Speak to you
Cheers,
soon,
mate.
mate. Bye bye bye.
Bye. Thanks for liking and subscribing. and leaving a comment. Go on, Booyaka. Peace out.